Have you ever been called lazy, or maybe even worse, use that word against yourself? It's a label that gets stuck on by teachers, family, maybe even our own inner critic. But what if that word is a complete and total lie? We've all heard that simple, well-meaning advice, right? Just focus. But when you try, and it still doesn't work, you're not just back at square one, you're left feeling completely broken. It hurts because it suggests the problem is you, your effort, and not what it really is, a fundamental difference in your brain's wiring. So, what is actually going on? I spent the last week diving deep into the clinical work of experts like Dr. Russell Barkley to figure out why standard productivity tips are so useless for some of us. And today, we are going to prove, scientifically, that you are not lazy. You're dealing with something called executive dysfunction. Think of this as the user manual that should have come with your brain. To really get why generic advice backfires, we have to demolish the biggest myth there is, the lazy lie. It's such a simple misunderstanding, but it has devastating consequences. Here's the difference. Laziness is a choice. It's about not wanting to, not caring. But executive dysfunction, that's a neurological traffic jam. The desire is there, believe me, the caring is there. But the brain's project manager, the part that's supposed to start, organize, and finish, is stuck. It is a failure of process, not a failure of character. And here's the real gut check. Think about the last time you were actually being lazy. You were probably chilling, right? Enjoying it. But when you are staring at a task you are screaming at yourself to do, and your body just will not move. That is not relaxing. That is a full-blown, anxiety-fueled, shame-filled struggle. It is a battle, not a break, and that battle isn't just about checklists and calendars. No, there is this hidden emotional layer that almost all productivity advice completely ignores. It's like an invisible force field that can make a simple task, like answering an email, feel like climbing Mount Everest in a blizzard. This incredible concept comes from ADHD coach Brendan Mahan. He calls it the wall of awful. It's that feeling of dread, that static you feel before you even start something. The task itself might only take 5 minutes, but first, you have to get through this invisible wall built from every past negative experience you've ever had with that kind of task. You can literally see how it gets built, brick by painful brick. Every time you missed a deadline in the past, boom, a failure brick. Every time you let someone down, another disappointment brick goes up. Does that failure lead to you feeling rejected? That's a rejection brick. You start worrying about failing again. You just adding more and more worrying bricks until that wall is so high you can't even see the task on the other side. So what's the mortar holding all these awful bricks together? Well, for many, it's something called Rejection Sensitive Dysphoria, or RSD. This is not just being sensitive. It is a severe, overwhelming, and genuinely painful emotional response to even the perception of being rejected or criticized. It's a core brain-based feature of ADHD. Dr. William Dodson, a leading expert, says his patients describe the pain of RSD as a physical wound. Let that sink in. It's not an overreaction. It's a neurological fact. The brain processes that emotional pain with the same intensity as a physical injury. And this is where it all comes crashing together. The absolute terror of feeling that wound again, of adding one more rejection brick to that massive wall of awful, is so intense it can cause complete and total paralysis. You avoid the task, not because you're lazy, but because you are desperately trying to protect yourself from what your brain registers as an unbearable threat. Okay, so we've talked about the deep emotional stuff. But what is physically happening in the brain's wiring to cause all this? Let's get into the neuroscience. The great Dr. Russell Barkley defines executive functions as the actions you direct at yourself to get something done in the future. This one idea reframes everything. ADHD isn't about not being able to pay attention to things. It's a disorder of being able to pay attention to yourself. It's a disorder of self-regulation. I absolutely love this metaphor. Your brain has a Ferrari engine. It's fast, it's creative, it can hyperfocus like nobody's business. The problem? You've got bicycle brakes. The real challenge is the inability to stop. To stop impulses, to stop focusing on the wrong shiny thing, to stop distractions. You can't steer if you can't hit the brakes. And this leads us to the central battle raging inside the ADHD brain. It is a constant, brutal tug-of-war between what feels good and urgent right now and what's important for the future. You know that pizza on the counter is immediate and rewarding. That goal to get healthy is somewhere off in the distance. A big reason for this is something called time blindness. For a neurotypical brain, time moves in a neat line, past, present, future. But for the ADHD brain, there are really only two times, now and not now. And if a deadline or a task isn't in the now category, like on -fire-urgent-now, it might as well not exist. This isn't poor planning, it's a problem with perception itself. And of course, there's working memory. Think of it like your brain's little sticky note, holding on to whatever you need for the task at hand. Well, for ADHD brains, that sticky note has terrible glue. The information just falls right off. It's why you walk into the kitchen and stop, totally blank. It's a leaky bucket. It's a neurological glitch, not a sign that you're flaky or not paying attention. Okay, so we know it's not laziness, we know about the emotional walls. We get the brain wiring. So what on earth do we do about it? We need a completely different toolkit. We need strategies that work with our brains, not constantly fight against them. So here it is, your real user manual. Let's start with a strategy that sounds almost ridiculously simple, but I promise you, it is shockingly effective. It's called body doubling. It's just having someone else in the room or even on a video call while you work on a task. They don't help, they don't talk to you, they just exist. I know, it sounds like magic, doesn't it? Why would another person, just quietly sitting there, suddenly unlock your ability to do your taxes or fold the laundry? Well, the science behind it is actually pretty cool. It works on a few levels. First, it adds gentle external accountability. Your brain knows someone else is witnessing you doing the thing. Second, we have these things called mirror neurons. We subconsciously start to mirror the calm, focused energy of the person near us. And finally, their calm presence can act like an external anchor for our busy, chaotic minds, giving us something to ground ourselves in. Okay, next hack. This one comes from the brilliant ADHD expert Leslie Josel, and it is a total game changer for time blindness. The rule is this: you have to make time a physical, visible thing. You have to externalize it, so your brain can finally internalize it. You can't manage something you literally cannot perceive. Here are some genius ways to do that. Get a visual timer, like a time timer, where you can actually watch the time disappear. Use a massive wall calendar that you can't possibly ignore. Make a playlist for a task. If you have a 30-minute playlist, when the music's over, the task is over. And this last tip is gold: separate the setup from the task. Step 1 is just getting your materials out. That's it. That lowers the barrier to entry. So much for when you come back to actually start. Let's just sit with this for a second. Because if you take one thing away from our time together today, let it be this. This whole journey isn't about trying to beat your brain into submission to force it to be normal. It is about learning its unique operating system and then giving it the tools it actually needs to succeed. You are not broken, you were just given the wrong user manual. So I want to leave you with a question. Just imagine for a minute, what could you do if you took all the energy you spend fighting your brain and feeling ashamed, and you redirected it into creating systems that actually support it? What becomes possible then? Thanks so much for digging into this with me today. If any of this hit home, please like and subscribe for more science-backed empathy. I'll see you next time.